Hey friends, welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach podcast. I'm here today with a very special guest and I'm very excited to talk to this person. It's Ben Wolin and he is the president and CEO of Covetrus. And I don't know if any of you have or use Covetrus in your practices, but I use it in mine. And I'm a little bit excited to talk to Ben today and get some insight and learn about him and what he does. So welcome to the podcast.
Julie, thank you for having me. And
thanks for being here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So can you tell me a little bit about Covetrus? Let's start there.
Sure thing. So Covetrus is the leading technology and services company in the animal health industry. We're a global company with over 6,000 employees and work with 100,000 customers globally, including yourself, as you mentioned. Which is great, and excited to talk about that more. At the heart of things, we're a company dedicated to providing exceptional and accessible animal health care, and we do that through a variety of ways. Everything from logistics businesses like distributing products and being an intermediary between a manufacturer and a veterinarian, to providing software like PIMS. We're the leader in the US in terms of PIMS. We provide e-commerce solutions like Vet's First Choice, or what we call Covetress now, or prescription management. And do a host of things across the globe to help veterinarians really provide better care and drive better business outcomes for themselves.
Okay, go back to the PIMS thing. I don't know what that is.
Sorry, I'm using an acronym.
I'm sorry, I'm not a techie.
No. PIMS are practice management software. It's basically the operating system, things like Avamark and eVetPractice. And
all right, I know what that is.
I'm sure you do.
I just didn't know the acronym.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So you're in charge of Avamark. That's part of your
Correct. So Covetrus was the result of a merger between Henry Schein's Animal Health Division and Vet's First Choice. And so the company's relatively new, 2 years old in some regards, but has been operating in the industry for multiple decades now. So Avamark is part of our business, as is Impromed and eVetPractice and many others across the globe.
Okay. So how did you end up where you are? You're the CEO, I said at the beginning. And yeah. I love people that have big titles like that. So I'm always fascinated as how they got to where they ended up.
Yeah. So let's see. So I'll go a little bit further back and then give you the near-term history. But okay. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I started a healthcare technology company in 2002 and ran that for 15 years, and was fortunate enough to scale that and take it public and eventually sell it. After doing that, I sat on a couple of boards. The common theme of everything that I was doing was some intersection between technology and healthcare. Always helping providers do what they love, which is, generally take care of patients. And I was on the board of, I got asked to be on the board of Covetress 2 years ago. After about 6 or 7 months, the board asked me to take over as CEO, which I did. And so now I've been the CEO since October of 19, so a little under 2 years. And for me, what was exciting about the opportunity really was to fulfill the company's mission, which is to help veterinarians do what they do best, which is practice medicine and take care of patients and help pet owners as well. And I knew that we could do that through our collection of assets, whether it be software or e-commerce solutions or compounding or logistics, and the list went on. And I was just super excited to get involved with such a mission-driven company and such a mission-driven industry.
Now, is Covetrus all animal? It's all veterinary?
Covetrus is 100% veterinarian.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
So what's the difference about that? Like, why is that different than other healthcare, do you think?
In some ways it's not. Our business is really, everything we do is about helping a veterinarian succeed, and we want to help them drive a better outcome, whatever that outcome might be, business or healthcare. And so I actually don't. I think if you work with physicians in the human health side of things, a lot of it is the same. I think there's some industry dynamics like lack of insurance, lack of the government. There's no Medicare or Medicaid in animal health, but a lot of the same dynamics about helping a small business owner succeed and run their practice and provide a better patient experience are the same. And so all of these themes like telemedicine and online booking and home delivery and e-prescribing and all of those things are very similar. There's always idiosyncrasies and things that are unique to each industry, but a lot of the driving forces about what a consumer wants and what makes a great patient experience are quite similar. And so I look to bring a lot of that background and experience to this role and build on some of the great things that were already going on inside of Covetrus long before I showed up.
So you said you started in 2019 as the CEO, and then that brought you into the year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Did that change the mission of the company, or what things did your team come up with that because of that pandemic that you thought would be helpful to the veterinary community?
Yeah, I don't think it changed the mission, but it certainly shined a pretty bright light on the role that we can play in helping our customers succeed. So like, to give you an example, we had some like nascent telemedicine solutions in the market, but it became very clear that veterinarians needed a way to continue to interact with pet owners or pet parents, and it wasn't going to necessarily be in the clinic. Some of it was going to be sitting at the curbside, and some of it was going to be from home. And so we really, I think, turbocharged our efforts there. And now, in Avamark and eVet Practice, you just have telemedicine features just embedded into the practice management, software. Same thing on prescription management. It was, we obviously had that pre-pandemic, but it just had it became even more essential in that environment. So in many ways, as horrible as COVID was and still is, it was a very exciting time for the company because it highlighted the essentialness of some of the services that we were providing. And we knew that our customers and your listeners were being taxed at an extreme level, and the stress level was extremely high, the workflow was really high. So it really motivated us to do everything in our power that we could to make their lives better. And some of it was just ease of use, and some of it was financial, and some of it was quality of care. But all of those things were important to us and kind of, really inspired the company to help out the best that we could, and are thrilled to see some of those solutions being put to use.
So tell me a little bit about the telemedicine solution that you came up with. You said it's part of Avamark?
It's part of all of the PIMS that we have, or practice management software, sorry.
I know what it is now.
Yeah, now you right.
I know what PIMS is now.
Yeah, it's embedded. So now, whether it's in eVet practice or Avamark, you as a practitioner can directly communicate via text or video with a patient, or sorry, with a pet owner. Now we're still huge proponents of the practice of medicine continuing to happen in the clinic, but there is a certain convenience factor that certain consumers will want, and certainly some situations which don't warrant an in-person visit, where a quick question can be answered, and we just want to do it in a compliant and easy to use manner. And so we've just enabled that. So it's not a separate business, or you're not offloading patients to another teleprovider that has like their own triage team. This is just allowing the practice to communicate with patients in a seamless way, whether they be in the practice or over the phone or via text or email.
Okay, so it's actually something that you can just use if you have Avamark.
Correct.
It's already embedded in there.
Yes.
The reason I ask is because we have Avamark at my practice, but I wasn't aware that that was part of it. Like we did telemedicine, but we kind of did it with our iPhones and our Skype, and we kind of had to wing it.
Yeah,
so
well, that
I like that it's in there, that I can try to use it.
We just have to make sure you're on the latest version.
Okay.
But if you're on the latest version, you certainly have access to it.
Awesome.
And yeah, you should give it a whirl and let me know how it goes.
Yeah. So when I was talking to you before we started, we talked a little bit about the work-life balance that veterinarians, have to try to juggle right now, and the fact that our industry is getting so tight. And what I mean by that is there's so much demand. During the pandemic, everybody adopted pets. And I think it kind of broke us a little bit. I think we're really struggling right now. So do you have any insight as to where do we go from here? How do we continue to try to take care of the veterinarians in the industry and also provide good care?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And I was one of those people. I adopted a second dog.
You're one of the offenders, huh?
I'm one of the offenders. I just want you to know.
Puppies. Don't get me wrong. I loved seeing all the puppies. It was great, but it's just a lot.
It's just a lot. I want you to know, my wife told me, she said the dog is going to be a joy machine. That's a direct quote.
A joy machine?
A joy machine.
I love that. That's a great quote.
Yeah, but it's one of those like 1 + 1 = like 11 type of situations in terms of the chaos in the household. So
I understand.
yeah, 2 dogs, 2 daughters. It's a lot. Anyway, look, I think there's kind of, there's the short term and then there's the long term here. I think from a short term standpoint, companies like ours have to just continue to make it easier to practice, to run their practice, whether that be the actual care delivery or the logistics, or you said it yourself, I'm not an IT person. I didn't even know we had telemedicine.
I didn't.
I think if we can make it easier for you to do what you're great at and take away the hassle part of running a business, that will allow you to be more effective, have better work-life balance, be happier, all of those things. And we try, whether that's telemedicine, we integrated e-prescribing into Avamark recently, just to one less hoop to jump through, one less workflow. It's not two screens anymore, it's one screen. So I think those are they all seem small and tactical, but you know it better than I do. There's only so many hours in the day, and if we can limit the things that get in the way of actually seeing patients and make it easier, then that's success. But that's not the end all and be all, I would say, to answering your question. And I think it's going to really come down to continuing to train new people, whether it be vet techs or veterinarians. We do invest in the university system and do all that we can, whether it's giving away free products or just helping invest, behind hiring those people. And then we just have to continually make it easier to run your business and easier to practice care, so it doesn't seem overwhelming. And clearly in COVID, we got to a place where new patient interest or even existing patient interest way outpaced, new numbers of employees coming into the industry, and that's clearly not sustainable, and needs to be addressed over a kind of a multi-year period of time.
Yeah. Do you have those same kind of issues with the employees that work in a corporation like yours? That same kind of struggle between work-life balance? I imagine a lot of your people could work from home during the pandemic, but
it's a really great, it's a really great question. I would say it was really hard in COVID. And we have two very distinct employee populations. We have people who are, about half of our workforce is in a warehouse or in a pharmacy, and they are shipping product, taking orders, talking to veterinarians about, hey, which product is going to be right for this situation, so forth and so on. Nothing changed for them except the workload went way up. Veterinary medicine was deemed an essential service, so we kept going, and there was a lot of pressure there because now all of a sudden everyone's doing it in masks. There's fear of COVID. The volume has gone through the roof. So that was super hard. And then I would say for our office-based workers, they had their own unique challenges. They're a new parent and they've got a toddler in the house and they're supposed to be on a Zoom call, and someone's screaming, and they live in a one-bedroom apartment, and all of a sudden everybody's on top of each other and they're supposed to be doing a job, and the lines get blurred between personal time and business time much easier. And so I think almost everybody at the company faced a new challenge, and for some it was harder than others, clearly. And we've done our best to adjust and adapt and provide different tools to cope and evolve with it. But I think we're all kind of learning, honestly, in this new environment about how to make that work.
So kind of keeping an open mind and going with the flow and those kind of things.
I think anybody who tells you that, I think anybody who tells you they've got it figured out and they know the exact formula, is probably being generous with their own, opinions of their ideas.
That's what I tell my clients. I'm like, when someone looks like they have it all together, it's just, they're really good actors.
Yeah.
None of us really have it all figured out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about the ordering. Is it Vet's First Choice still, or is it just called Covetrus? What is
it's really called Covetrus Prescription
I know it
Management.
was that, and then Covetrus, what is it? Prescription management?
Yeah, prescription management. So basically it's a tool that allows a practice to have a consumer buy online, and get products ordered to them, or delivered to them at their home. And so rather than losing business to a retailer, like a Chewy or a PetSmart or a Walmart, you can retain that business. And what's really interesting is, what we have seen is that after a hospital or a group of hospitals adopt the platform and use it for 3 years, we see that the profit of that hospital goes up by about 30%. And the reason why is the compliance with the prescription is just much better. And a lot of that is because consumers get put on auto ship, and it just gets automatically delivered to their home, very similar to what you would see in another, Amazon Prime or, other things that are happening on a regular basis, versus, you prescribing a medication and, maybe they pick up the first time, but then fall off and don't stay compliant. So there's a real convenience factor for the consumer. There's what we believe are better medical outcomes because they're more compliant with the prescription. And then there's a better business benefit, because of all of those things going together. And so where some practices might have felt like they were losing out by sending, business out of the clinic into their online store, what we have seen is kind of the opposite, that it's more profitable for them, over a multi-year period of time.
Yeah. So do you consider it an online store for the individual practice? I know ours is kind of set up so it looks like it's us.
Yeah, it's 100% branded. It's 100% branded The Vet. And at the end of the day, or the vet's practice, I should say. And so it's, Covetrus isn't a consumer brand. We're not trying to compete with the veterinarian. We're really 100% there to serve the vet and help them, like I said, drive a better outcome, healthcare or financial. And so it's their store. They decide what's getting prescribed. They decide what's getting sold. So, if they have an affinity to a certain preventative, that's what's going to be marketed on the store. If they like certain diets, that's what would be marketed on the store. We just want to make it super easy for both the veterinarian to prescribe as well as the consumer to transact and receive.
Okay, so it's kind of it's set up individually for each practice.
Yeah, we actually have over 11,000 storefronts in the US right now.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is, and hopefully the people listening are members. And if you're not, you should certainly reach out. And I'm sure you're.
You can check it out, right?
Yeah, you can certainly check it out. You're probably doing business with Covetrus in one way or another, and your account manager certainly can help show you how it works and what the benefits are.
Okay, so you said you were a dog owner. You got a new dog during the pandemic.
Yes.
So tell the veterinarians that are listening what your advice would be to them to deal with clients, because you can put yourself in the position of a client, even though you run a corporation that deals with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any advice for them?
It really should be the other way around. What advice do they have for me to make them better? But I would say, what we hear both from veterinarians and from consumers or pet owners is, just make it easier. Is really the kind of the overriding thing that we hear, and that's everything from not getting surprised by the price of a procedure to, in this case, it's just easier to have the product delivered to my home, or I just want an easy resource for to get questions answered where I may or may not need a visit. But in general, I think in all parts of our lives, we all gravitate towards things that are less complex and easier to interact with. That's why the entire financial industry has come online. That's why shopping has predominantly gone online. Even buying tickets for the movie has gone online. And I think for veterinarians to continue to evolve and adapt, they have to embrace that. There's no stopping that tidal wave, but there is participating in it and taking advantage of it. And so, that's what we're here to do and help people do that as much as possible. But we never want to replace what veterinarians are amazing at, which is providing care. And I liken it, because I'm new to the industry, but come out of healthcare. To me, it feels very much like the relationship you have with your pediatrician as a parent. I'm a parent as well as a pet parent and a child parent. That's a sacred connection, and you lean on that pediatrician or you lean on that veterinarian in a very similar way. And we never want to we want to facilitate that and make it easier to do the part that's irreplaceable, and take the part that is replaceable and just make it easier.
Yeah. And I think that you make a really good point. It's kind of like your pediatrician. And I think we as veterinarians forget that that's really our role, is to take care of people, because sometimes our clients treat us kind of like the auto mechanic or something. They're like, just fix it and charge me the least amount of money. We get some of that attitude. So I think that's a really good point for us to remember, is it's really about that. And most of our clients feel that way. Not all, but most of them do. And so we need to remember that when we're having the day where somebody's being ugly or nasty because it's not going their way, or it's not convenient enough, or they have to wait. We're seeing a lot of blowback on that.
Or they don't like the advice or information that's being given to them. I mean, my wife's a physician, my sister-in-law is a veterinarian. I hear all about the
you hear both sides, huh?
I hear both sides, and I think, again, the more transparent you can be with pet owners, without surprises, hopefully that mitigates some of that blowback. But unfortunately, there's always going to be a certain portion of people that will never be happy no matter what you do for them. And I think you have to keep that in mind as well, and hopefully not take it personally.
Letting that roll, right?
Yeah, easier said than done.
Yeah, appreciate the good ones, though. I think that's really something that we forget to do.
I can't underscore enough about how we in COVID, we all use the word essential healthcare, essential worker. I really think it rings true here. I mean, pets are essential, to so many people's happiness, and the caregivers that are providing care to those pets are, as a result, essential as well. And so, you can never forget that role that you play. And again, that's what motivates me and motivates my company to try to provide the best services that we can.
What did your wife call the puppy? Happiness?
Oh, the joy machine.
Joy machine. There you go.
Yeah,
so we take care of the joy machines.
There you go.
That's joy, exactly.
Line. Yeah, yes, you're a joy machine caregiver. I like that a lot. The problem is it hasn't been true in the least. But other than that,
you mean your puppy hasn't been a joy machine?
No, I mean, he really has. He just is it's like, my kids are older now, and it's like I've forgotten what it's like to have a toddler, and all of a sudden you have a newborn baby and you're like, wow, I remember why I didn't sleep and why this is
how much
hard.
work this was, right?
Yeah, right.
So as an entrepreneur, this is another question I thought of earlier when you were telling me that you were an entrepreneur before you went to Covetrus.
Yep.
As an entrepreneur, do you have any words of wisdom or pearls of advice to give to someone that is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, look, I really think, most veterinarians are, like
Yeah, for sure.
you're a healthcare worker and a business owner at the same time.
Right.
Even the ones that are employees, are running the business. I mean, that you are in the business of, veterinary medicine. And so I think for people who are, well, one is just to realize that's who you are, and embrace it and try to find solutions that work for you. And if you don't like certain parts of it, figure out how to offload it onto another company or another person who does, if possible, or look for the partners who are willing to take on the things that you don't want to do. And then I think for people who are new, again, I think it's about finding systems and relationships where they can help you do what you love to do and what makes you unique and special, as best as possible. And I think historically, what has been hard for a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, is that you've had to stitch it together yourself. You're like, I don't know how Avamart connects to prescription management, that connects to inventory management, and that's like, and I don't care, and I don't want to know. Like, I want to be with patients, and I think, again, we're trying to make that easier. But if it's not us, it can be somebody else. I just think recognizing that you are running a business and that you have to try to do that well so that you can be great at the thing that makes you unique is important.
Yeah, and just being brave enough to reach out for help when you need it. Ask
100%. No one was born learning how to run a business, like.
And they didn't teach it in vet school, for sure.
And there's a lot of trial and error, and it's okay to make mistakes. But what I would say is there's definitely best practices out there and good solutions out there. Like I'll give, we were talking about prescription management. I'll just give you an interesting data point to share. I'll call them our best performing practices, or the practices that generate the most profit for themselves, generate something like 4 to 5 times the amount of profit that an average practice generates. And there's nothing special about the practice. They have access to the same number of patients. They're not in some super affluent area or something like that. They've just embraced it. They've, like you said, they've asked for help, and they figured out how to make it work for them. And it's been, it's helped them provide better care and drive a better business at the same time. And so there are, and that's just one of hundreds of examples. There are great tools and solutions out there. You just have to spend a little bit of time finding them and finding partners who can help make it happen for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's really a big thing. Sometimes we forget that you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
I can guarantee you almost everything that's being done on the business side, you don't have to do yourself or figure it out. Like that's it might seem that way, but it's rarely is the case. I mean, you would never come up with your own online banking solution or your own version of a QuickBooks. Like, you don't have to invent that stuff, and that's almost always the case with huge components of your practice, whether it's allowing a consumer to book an online appointment, to writing a prescription, to getting inventory managed, to all of the nuts and bolts of running a practice.
There's ways to do it all, huh?
Yeah, I would say so.
So the one thing before we get towards the end, but I did want to talk to you about is I was looking at your website and you had a section on the values of the company, and I really found that interesting. So I don't know if you know what they are, but I wrote them down, and I just maybe thought I'd ask you to comment on them a little bit. Do you know them off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I'm gonna have to pull up the site. So I just want to use.
Tell you.
I just want to use the same. I just want to use the same words.
Yeah, I'll just read it to you real quick, and then we can talk about it. You just have do good, be passionate, never settle, share the customer goal, and give power.
Yes.
And I always love corporate missions and values, and even in small hospital settings. So I just thought that those 5 things are really interesting, and I thought I'd ask you to comment on your take on all of that, because I think those are all really good points.
Yeah, here's what I would say, and I think at the end of the day, almost regardless of the words that you use, right? Do good, be better, make an impact. People want to work for companies that are making a difference, whether it be a 2-person practice or a 7,000 person company. At the end of the day, we all want to identify with places that have a mission and that are trying to make a difference. And so the reason that we post our values is much a message to ourselves as it is a message to the outside world of what we're trying to be and how we're trying to service people. I think all of those phrases really embody what we want to do in the market, whether that's how we treat our own employees or how we treat our customers or how we work with partners. Like we really do want to help people have a better outcome, and you can't do that unless you care about the mission. Otherwise it's otherwise it's just a number on a spreadsheet, and it's it's just another patient or another transaction. And so for me, the values are just a reminder, like a halo over the business that you need to keep in mind every day with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think the one I particularly thought was interesting and different than a lot of other companies I've read is share the customer goal. And I thought that's a really good thing for us as veterinarians to remember too, that it's not our goal that we're trying to work through with these people, it's their goal. And their goals don't always align with ours, and we kind of have to be okay with that. So I liked that one in particular. And then of course I like all the other ones too, because they're all
it's a great point. You kind of have to meet the customer where they're at, rather than always trying to pull them to you. I mean, in some cases, you are the expert, and I don't think you want, or I don't think any of us want patients, taking, medical care into their own hands. But you're 100% right that in certain cases, what a patient wants, or what a pet parent wants is it might not be what you want for your own, if you were the pet parent, but it might just be okay, and that's good enough. And we have the same attitude with our partnerships, that we'd love our customers to use every single thing that we have and use it to its fullest and adopt every feature and bell and whistle. But in some cases, they don't want that. They're not ready for it. They don't need it, or they don't need it in that instant. And that's okay too. We have to really, I look at it as a partnership rather than a vendor customer. Like in my in my best case scenarios, we're partners, helping, you succeed. And I think it's the same thing about, being a veterinarian, being a pediatrician. You're helping that pet parent succeed, and they're not going to always take your advice, but by and large, yeah, but by and large they are, and you're going to be providing that essential service, that's helping them, live a healthier and happier life.
Yeah. So is there anything else before we kind of get to the end of this that you want to share about the parts of Covetrus that we didn't talk about, or any final thoughts in general about advice? Or
No, the only thing I would say to you and your listeners is that, you really are providing an essential service, and, we're here to help in any way we can. We have lots of different ways to do that, but ultimately our success is your success. And if we can make, the practice of medicine more effective, or we can make the business side easier or more lucrative, that's what excites us, and we're here to partner with you to make that happen.
Okay. And anything personally you want to say? Any personal advice as an entrepreneur and someone that works hard with the people that work in this industry?
I would say, just keep going. Generally, there is a solution to the problem. Generally, it gets better. It's not always easy, but if you work hard and listen and ask the right questions, you can find the right path.
I love it. That's great. That's great advice. Hard things, good things come from hard work, right?
100%.
Yeah. It's hard because it's supposed to be hard. It's what I always say to myself on a really tough day.
If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Exactly.
So I would 100% concur.
Yeah. So I think as long as you don't have anything else, I would like you to tell people how to contact you or contact someone if they're interested in any of the things we talked about today. Do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So
or a website or something?
Yeah, of course. So you can always reach out to me directly. My email address is ben.wolin, and that's WOLIN @covetress.com. If you're practicing medicine here in the US, you're you're probably doing business with us in some way, shape, or form.
Even if you don't know it.
You're right. Even if you don't. Correct. So you can ask you probably have an account manager who you work with, and you can certainly reach out to them. And if you don't know, or if you want to just reach out to the company, you can always go to our website, covetress.com. But hopefully through one of those three paths, you can get to us, and we'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible and help you solve your problem.
Great. Well, it's been so nice meeting you.
I'm going
to want to talk to you again. I can just tell.
Yeah, well, by then, maybe the Joy Machine will have really fulfilled his promise.
I'm going to write that down. I love that. So tell your wife that I love the Joy Machine. I think that's amazing. Puppies are joy machines.
I will. I'm gonna send her a link to the podcast ASAP.
It's a great line. I love it.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you having me, and
I appreciate you being here and sharing a little bit about what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you're a customer, and I look forward to chatting again.
More than I knew. I didn't even know.
More than you even knew. I know. Great.
I got to go check out the telemedicine thing now that I didn't know we had. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, great spending time with you, and I
Yeah,
look forward
thank
to
you
doing it
so
again
much.
soon.
I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for being here today. Have a beautiful week. Bye. Bye, Ben.